if you're nice to women, women will want to be around you. Yeah. And the first thing she's going to say, and the first thing she's going to ask is, all these women like you, who have you slept with? When you tell her none of them, then she's going to want to sleep with you so she can be the one. That's what they want.
Yeah. She'll investigate. She'll try to find out, like, wait, why not? Third. And then when you start talking, it's like, oh, okay. So you're just a nice guy, and that's why you get along with them. But they're not all of them are your type. You have a certain type. And ironically, I just so happen to fit that type. Lucky me.
Yeah.
Bingo. Especially if you're, lying. Especially if you're lying, right? Now, she could legitimately be right. But if she's not legitimately your type, but you're telling her things that you like that sounds like you're describing her, then there you go. You know how it is. There's guys out there that will lie. It's better to be honest, but, the truth can't hurt. So sometimes soft lie, a little white lie, a considerate lie, however you want to call it. There are lies that are good, and there are lies that obviously are bad. There's the truth that's bad, and there's the truth that's good. There's two sides to everything. Even the truth has a dark side. Even a lie has a good side. Same goes to guys, right? Fuck boys, pookies, and ray rays. They lean towards their darker side, right? Their impulse, their sexual desires. Good guys lean more into the good behavior, their upbringing. The respect factor more than their sexual desires. But doesn't mean it's not there. Like in every good guy, there's a pookie, right? There's a fuckboy, and in every fuckboy there is a good guy. But there's no guarantee that they will switch, that they will go from one extreme to the other. Sometimes you want a balance. Sometimes you want one that leans a little bit more one way than another, but at least try to get the characteristics. Because because the funny thing is, for me, a lot of chicks will see me possibly, not possibly. I've had this happen a couple of times where they thought I was like a fuckboy, like I'm a player, like I'm a ladies' man, I'm a heartbreaker or something like that. It's like, but I'm not, So it's that's dichotomy where it's like they see me as a fuckboy, but I'm not a fuckboy, but that's how they see me. So I gotta deal with that as a situation. So it's like, okay, well, y'all see me as a fuckboy. I guess I give off the personality traits and the behavior of one. It gets y'all attention. Y'all don't want to stay away from me, right? Yeah. So I'll lean into it. I'll lean into the fuckboy persona, like the playboy. The eligible bachelor persona, and I'll play the role. But I could always, obviously, since I'm a good guy, I'll switch back to my good guy role. But that's the thing, is knowing the balance. Sometimes there's good guys that do get a shot with a chick, but she starts leaning into the interest of wanting the guy to be a little bit more aggressive, aka more of a fuckboy. So that's the thing. Sometimes some guys mess up because they keep trying to maintain their good boy image, right? Or their actual personality, which is they're a decent person, and not realizing that the chick actually wants him to be a little bit more like a bad boy. So that's why you gotta learn the ways of the bad boy. You chose to be a good guy, but you should understand how the bad guys operate. So that way, if you need to think like a bad guy or act like a bad guy, you have the knowledge. And that's the thing. Even though I prefer not to be a player, doesn't mean I don't know how to play. Because I made sure I learned the particular set of skills necessary to play. Sometimes just sounding like a fuckboy or acting like a fuckboy is more than enough to get the female attention. Which a lot of times is all you need is just their attention. Once you get their attention, then you hit them with the flirtation, right? Which should help you get them into the retention, and then the monetization, right? Or I should say the reward, and that's whatever you want, whether it be a relationship, right? That should have been the word relationship after the retention, getting to the relations. You get the idea. Is like there's a process. For example, you can't expect to get a W right off the bat. You know, go from point A to point B in one conversation. It might take a couple of days of talking. You know, might take a couple minutes here and there during the course of a day, interacting with her, talking to her. You know, saying hi, hey, how you doing? This and third, asking a question, and just making sure that she sees you enough, but not too much, but sees you enough during the course of a day, maybe the course of a week. I know some guys are in a hurry and impatient, but hey, if she's your type, if she's worth it, then she's worth the hunt, right? She's worth the patience. You're not always gonna catch the biggest fish. You know, your first time out, you gotta wait a while, a couple hours before you catch the big fish. Mm-hmm. If she's worth it, then you'll wait, right? She's worth the wait. And a lot of guys act like they can't wait. Like if I can't get it now, I'm never gonna get it. It's like, no, you can always get it later. That's another thing, is keeping your options open. You know, you try to talk to her now, you know, throw a couple of things here and there, a couple of jokes, just to get her to know you exist, and then just move on, right? Move on, talk to another chick, spark up a conversation with them. And like you mentioned earlier, the idea that if you're around other females will see you. So if the chick you want sees you with another chick, that's going to help further you getting that chick. So that's also part of the game of having game. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's not what you say. A lot of times it is what you do. Just like if you have a nice car, right? That right there will get their attention. If you're good at anything, whether it be sports or you're good at doing business or whatever your talent is, your purpose, as they say, is, that will get her attention. And that's the thing, Not saying you got to go out here and try to use everything, try to use your clout or your money or your cars, your house, even your association with other people. You could, I'm just saying you don't have to. It's like, don't go out of your way to use these things to impress them. Use them to impress indirectly as opposed to directly. Because it isn't, from what I've seen and heard, it's never a good idea to walk up to a chick and show her your bank account and try to impress her with the money you have in the bank. Definitely not a good idea to lead with money, as they say. So like trying to impress her with your car or your expensive watch or clothing or something like that. All these things can be impressive. All these things can impress her, but she has to decide that those things are impressive on her own. She has to use them as a reason to like you, if she wants to go that route. She could like you just for personality. Most chicks do like guys for the personality. Some chicks like you for your looks. Some chicks like you for your height and money and whatever. And the list goes on. So it's like you can't assume that every chick, every lady that you interact with, is going to want the same thing. Generically, in general, they tend to want at least the bare minimum in their mindset, which would be a lot of the typical tropes of, somebody who makes a lot of money, somebody who's in good shape, somebody who's relatively attractive, somebody who's taller than her. Doesn't matter if it's 6 feet, 6 figure, 6-pack, all that stuff, right? She can accept less. So you gotta be open to that possibility that, hey, you ask her out and she says yes. That's the worst case now. She says yes, and now it's like, now you gotta do more. It's easy. Life is easier when you get rejected. It's harder when you don't, because then you gotta put in the work.
Yep.
It's just like I've had scenarios where I'm like going to apply for a job, and in my mind I had the mindset of like not getting hired, and if I don't get hired, it'll feel less, I'll feel less like my nerves will drastically erase if I get rejected, right? If I don't get hired. But if I get hired, my nervousness is just going to increase, because now it's like, okay, I passed this part. Now I actually have to, get some transportation. If they give me a uniform, I gotta wear the uniform now. I gotta go to work, and now I gotta learn the stuff. If it's a entry level job or whatnot, and all these things. And now I gotta, get used to the location, get used to my coworkers, the bosses. There's so much more to a yes than is to a no. A no is actually not the worst case scenario. That's the misconception. A no is not the worst case scenario. A yes is. And if you're in our position, we tend to get a lot of yeses. So that's a lot of work. So some of you guys could barely get one yes from one chick. Imagine being us who can get yes from multiple chicks, and then we got to deal with the multiple chicks, and we got to be able to communicate. I've been on TikTok and literally had to deal with like 2-3 chicks at the same time, and going back and forth debating with them through comments, just going back and forth, getting my point across to them, getting them to understand my viewpoint, and they ultimately ended up agreeing with me. But it's the fact that I had to deal with 3 chicks at the same time. Most of you guys could barely deal with 1 chick, let alone 3. But that comes from practice, right? Practice makes perfect. Just today, we're currently, having our lunch right now, or breakfast in my case. Well, we're both having breakfast, And we just came from a breakfast place. They had a new staff member. She was cute. And, we sparked up conversations. I said some stuff, my partner here said some stuff, and, we got positive reactions to it. Stuff that's beyond the typical, customer service type of behavior. It's more of a, regular conversation as opposed to, I work here, you asking me questions type of situation. I have to answer the questions. We had normal conversations, the kind of conversations you normally would have and should have with the opposite sex. Made her laugh a couple times. We even got to the point of nickname, right? Got to the point of giving our names. So now we know each other on a personal level. So everybody knows each other's names. Type of situation. Certain talking points, certain hobbies were brought up, and then there's the fact that we have certain things that bond us for that moment. So next time, there will be a next time, right? When you be able to talk, and you can bring up all that stuff from the last conversation. So you can carry the things that happen in this conversation to the next conversation, right? Which is always good to do. That's why asking questions is the most important thing you can do when trying to shoot your shot at a chick, is ask questions, not confess your love to her. That doesn't work, guys. It doesn't work. Simps have been doing that for the longest, and it doesn't work. They do prefer to be asked questions, and asking questions do work better. So that's the thing that tends to work out the most is questions, right? Obviously, the questions always got to be stuff that they can answer, so don't ask them stupid questions that more likely they probably won't know the answer to, because then it makes them feel dumb, and that's a bad feeling to give a chick. Don't give a chick the feeling that she's dumb or don't know nothing, because that's embarrassing. And if she's embarrassed, well, you're not doing a good job of hollering at her. That's going to put her off. So don't be surprised if you don't get further conversations. The funny thing is, you got to remember, sometimes these conversations you got to consider them like little micro dates, right? If you want a second date, aka a second conversation, a second time of interaction, of talking and getting to know each other even further, you got to do a good job of impressing her with conversation in the first time, right? First impression matters. So if you come up to her and be like, "Oh, you're really hot, you're beautiful, I want you," that's gonna give that's her first impression, and she already gets the impression that you're weirdo, simp, you know, there's virgin vibes, whatever, right? Like she doesn't see you as as something more than that. If anything, she sees you as less because you just met her and already you in love with her. That sounds more physical than it does, like a mental thing, because it's like you don't even, and they always think this, you don't even know me and you love me. Yeah, I doubt you truly love me because you don't know me. So that's why it's important to get to know them. So that way later on, if you even mention, which you shouldn't, they should be the ones to do a lot of those things first, right? Mm-hmm. They should notice you, give you eye contact first, right? And then you start doing the approach, which is the choosing signal thing. She should be the first one to say I love you type stuff, or at least express some feelings for you. Mm-hmm. They're the feelings one, we're the logic ones, which means we need to speak more than feel. They're supposed to express their feelings. We're supposed to express our thoughts. So stop thinking that you have feelings for her. She needs to have feelings for you. Stop simping for her. She's supposed to simp for you. You're the prize. She needs to win you over. She needs to impress you, not the other way around. Right? Because everything you do in your life is already going to be impressive. If you work out, if you make money, if you get along with your family, if you get along with the world, if you're doing something that benefits the world. Let's say you run an orphanage or something. That'd be sweet. That'd be considered. That's nice, right? That's something helpful to society, especially if you're running it properly. I mean, that reminds me. That's an idea to try to, kind of do like a boarding school type thing, like for orphanage and stuff like that.
Yeah,
might be nice. I know we definitely could run an orphanage better than than currently out there.
Yeah.
Definitely a foster system better than that currently exists out there. Well, I'll put that on the to-do list of many things to do in the future. But yeah, it's like the things you do, in your life, which you should be doing shit with your life in the first place, and the ladies should be secondary. So, they always say online, put purpose first and stuff like that. It's like, yeah, you should have a purpose first. Just like when you're talking to chicks, to ladies, right? The purpose is to get to know them. One, you want to vet them anyway, because we tell ladies to pick better men, right? But we tell them to pick better. That means vet them better, right? You guys got to do it too. You guys got to vet. You better make sure that she ain't crazy, right? That she ain't going to slash your tires, right? She ain't going to try to acquire some specimen, right? And then screw you over financially, if you know what I mean. So it's like, you gotta take care of yourself. You gotta vet, right? I'm very adamant about the idea of quality over quantity. Quality of ladies that I deal with versus quantity is what matters to me the most. Now, I talk to a lot of chicks, but talking and doing things with them is a different story. So I'll talk to many of them and then weed out the best among them and then deal with the best. That way, no regrets, right? Can't regret, any situation that could go the wrong way. It's risk management. So always manage the risk. Guys are logical or problem solvers. So solve the problem of accidental, pregnancies and other things of that nature. Try to avoid, I know crazy chicks, from what I hear, are great in bed, but trust me, it's not worth it. If you can handle it, choose your destiny. But if you can't handle, most of you guys can't even handle a chick that doesn't give you quote unquote peace. Mm-hmm. You could barely handle a chick that speaks her mind, let alone a chick that they'll stalk you. They'll be hiding in the backseat of your car type shit. Like most of you guys can't handle a chick that, that just speaks her mind and doesn't want to be submissive and this, that. Most of you guys could barely handle a chick like that. Trust me, you can't handle a chick that, might need to take some meds. That's another thing. You definitely want to vet if the chick takes meds, right? Especially, meds for her mental issues. And that's another thing, trauma. A lot of chicks nowadays got trauma. You definitely want to check that at least can deal with it or can reduce it, or like she healed and whatnot. You don't want to deal with a chick that's still going through shit, still have issues. You definitely don't want to check that complains about her past as if it's her current present time. You definitely don't want her to blame you for the sins of the guys she's been with before. She should treat you better than the guys she treated in the past.
One thing about her that was really cool was that she was, she had a very open personality. I hate when you get online and everyone acts like, women have all these bad personalities, and it could be, like I said, the way you approach them. Mm-hmm. Sometimes you have to have a very open approach and open to the fact that, if this lady is attracted to you, if she's going to show any type of attraction, you have to gauge that. And that takes having some type of experience with studying people, facial expressions, and just getting a quick read, getting a quick vibe. And then going in for what you want if you feel as if the vibe you got was positive. Sometimes people will give you a positive vibe just because they're at work. Sometimes people will give you a positive vibe because they just want to get you out their face. They just want to keep it moving. And that's why, even though, so many people say, well, why don't girls smile anymore like that? It's not that girls don't want to smile. They want to smile. They want to show you their positive energy. But if they don't have the time for you to approach, because they might be doing something, if they do have the time, but they're just not attracted to you, they don't want to send you the wrong signal. And we know that we live in a society that men dominate, and so if a woman is feeling like, if I give him a positive sign, what happens if I then tell him no? What comes after that? So that's always a possibility, but we're not savages. So, it's okay to smile, but just like, on a guy's end, he also has to take that smile and not think, oh, that's definitely me going to go up there and be creepy. Well, that's just definitely me. I'm going to go and try to smother her. You say hi, you gauge the situation, you say what you got to say, you get what you need out of the situation, and you keep it moving. If she says no. If she says yes, that's when you got to put in the work and say, okay, cool. Let's exchange numbers. Like I said, that happened to me the other day. I had to gauge the situation because sometimes you might get caught off guard. You might not get it where someone was flirting with you first. So, especially with the situation across the street, we were talking, and I tried to, get the image of who she put me in the mind of, and in my head, but I couldn't get it at the time. It's slowly coming to me, but I wanted to use that as a way in. But when she told me her name, I just started thinking of all the references I could use for that. So what that does is, for me, is that later on, now that I know her name, especially since I didn't even know I was wearing my name tag. So when I pointed out my name, it's because, once you get on the name basis, once you can use that as an in for starting, conversations and everything. And like I said before, even if it leads to nothing, it especially builds a new line of friendship, or at least just communication. Because, you hear it a lot where people say men and women can't be friends, and whether you believe that or not is irrelevant to the fact that your goal should always be to expand your network. Your goal should always be to expand your network. Mm-hmm. So if you're talking to a girl and all you want is, oh man, I have to sleep with her, but then she says no, oh my God, I failed. All women are bad. No, that's not true. The thing is that you've gotten to know her, and even though she ain't for you, you've got a chance to expand your network. And that's what's most important, because you never know. She might meet a girl that says, yo, I know this guy that's great for you. and then boom.
That happens a lot.
Yeah, and that happens.
That's
that
the
happens.
power of networking.
That happens, especially
networking is
when-
not just guys and guys.
Yeah.
And business.
Yeah,
A lot of times it is pleasure.
Yeah,
Pleasure networks is a thing.
Yeah, networking is all about who you bring into your circle, especially. Now, it might not be your close circle, but it's in who your circle of knowledge, your circle of connections, your circle, not just your circle of friends, but your circle of the people you know, the circle of acquaintances. And I always try to identify the expansion of my network every day with every new person that I meet, every person. That's part of what I like about working where I work and doing what I do is I see different faces a lot. So it gives me a chance to expand my network. People ask me questions, people might be there for certain information and I might have and I can give to them. So the chance to expand your network is awesome. So seeing it as that will lead you to better opportunities than just chasing booty. Because if you're just like, oh man, I just want to sleep with this person, it's not going to work because women are the better social creatures. They're going to feel that. They're going to like, oh, this is all you're really here for. And it's not going to be such a turn on unless that's what they want. But what they want can change from day to day, from minute to minute, from hour to hour, because they operate off of however they feel. Wherever the wind blows, that's where they're going to go. So you can't expect a logical outcome from somebody who operates off their feelings. And it's not, like I said, there's nothing wrong with that. That's not a negative, but it's not comparable. So you have to be prepared for, okay, well, she may have been feeling me, but I guess something changed. And the best way to prepare yourself for that is don't hype up your own expectations. Have very low expectations. That way you can't be disappointed if it don't turn out the way you don't anticipate it to. But if it does turn out the way you anticipated it, just prepare yourself. Be like, okay, cool. I have this idea. Always have a plan. As we know, women love men with plans. Women love a man who knows what he's doing, who's not afraid to say, okay, this is what we're going to do. I need you to be here, because that to them shows preparedness, and they like a man who's prepared for things. They want to know that you're prepared. And it's funny because even when you cold approach, women are expecting you to be prepared. Women are expecting game. They're expecting to be woed. They're expecting for you to put on a show. Even though you hear it online a lot, women will say, oh my God, I just want somebody to tell me the truth. Do you? Because most people who are willing just to tell you the truth, you don't even approach those type of people. You want the game. You want the guy to swindle you and to woo you off your feet. That's what you want. Just be honest. But going with how they feel at the time, they don't. When they say, oh, I want somebody that's going to be honest, yes. They don't want somebody to, because that's how they feel. But in the moment, when they're at the club or outside at an outing, if they're, just leaving friends, if they're just sitting there at the bar by themselves, they want to get wooed. And like I said before, you can't really argue that as a man, and I hear it a lot where men argue it like, oh, they want this, but then they say they want that. They don't know what they want. No, they know what they want. They know because they want it at that time. That's their feeling. You understand if they go with their feelings. You can't say they don't know what they want at that moment. They do know what they want because they know what they feel. What they feel is if I want a guy to come up to me and to put in his best effort and to show me that. Whereas when you get them online, they're on a panel or they're part of a summit, they'll sit there and say, no, what we want is people to just be honest. Just be this, just be that, just be you. Just be us. Because when we show you us, it's not that great to you. You like the facade. Because when you see the real us, you're like, it confuses you. You're like, you're such a simple person. We don't like to wear all that flashy stuff and get in all these big cars and go, because all that is just a show. So you want the show. You don't want the real us. Just like in some ways, there are men that don't want the real them. Most men do, though. Most men want the real you. But they have an idea of what they are willing to deal with, like you said. And some cannot deal with the real you. So then they have to take the facade. But I think as a general statement, most men want to see the real woman. That way we know what we get. And that way at the end of the day, we know who we're going to sleep with. We know who's sleeping in the other bed or in the same bed with us, however your living situation is.
Mm-hmm.
We know who we're choosing to end our day with. We know who we're going to wake up to because we've seen the real you. That act is just all an act. But when we know the real you, we know, okay, if this is what I got to deal with the rest of my life, that's worth it. That's what I want to marry. The facade that you showed me before, that's great. So I know what you can do when you turn up to 11. When you turn what you have now up to 11, I can deal with that. And the vice versa, when you see what a guy can offer when it's turned up to 11, that's great. But the difference is we have to be careful because when we show women what we have turned up to 11, we have to maintain that. Because opposite to what they say, they don't want the real you. They want that what's turned up to 11 to be the real you. That's what I want to see all the time. That your representative, that's what you got to bring the whole time. And it's like, no, on contrary to what turned up to 11 looks like, that's not the real us. This is the real us, you know. We're hardworking. This is what we want. These are the things we want to do. We generally just want to stay out the way, stay out of trouble. We don't want to go to certain places where we know trouble's going to be. We want to be able to take you out to dinner, show you a nice time. We don't mind taking trips and everything. We don't have to, but you know, we want to grind. We want to make sure that we have the money and the resources to provide the life that, you know, we presented to you, but we know that we're not going to keep it turned up to 11. So if you can accept the normal, that's fine. But that's why in the beginning you do have to be forward with her. Like, listen, you know, I'm not going to always be turned up to 11 like this. Mm-hmm. But if you understand that, if you're good with that, we can make this work. Because I know you're not going to always be turned up to 11. Our expectations are way more reasonable on women. Mm-hmm. Because we know that you can't stay turned up to 11 forever. We know because we don't. We don't. When you see these rappers out here and everything, but then you see the behind the scenes things when they're at their house. You know, they're not wearing all that jewelry in the house. They're not sitting on the couch with all the jewelries and their watches and their expensive shoes and everything. And they're dressed like regular people. Mm-hmm. Because they know turned up to 11 is not supposed to be all the time. That looks dumb and it's not really a requirement. Remember that video that that Offset showed of Cardi B cleaning up and everything. She had a little bonnet on, she had a wig on, carrying the baby. I think she was carrying the baby. She was cleaning up and everything, and you see that it's not the Cardi B you always see out there. That's because she's not always turned up to 11. Mm-hmm. That's Cardi B turned up to 11 when you see her with her wigs and her heavy makeup and her dress that, you know, ain't hiding nothing. That's her. That's her turned up to 11 though. Mm-hmm. So he knows. He's like, well, I already know you're not going to look like that. Let me show the world what you look like when you're not turned up to 11. Boom. But as he said in the video, see, she does cook, she does clean. Da, da, da. These are just regular things. When I was talking to a friend before, I told her our expectations as men and women are different. But what makes this so backwards in terms of dating is, even though they're different, ours is much more reasonable. For yours to be reasonable, you have to admit as a woman that you're okay with regular things, and you're not. Y'all call that boring. You've got to admit you're okay with things being average, and you're not. You're always looking for above average and above that. You have to admit that you're okay with regular, somewhere in the middle, and you're not. You have to admit that you know that cannot be sustained for long periods of time, and you're not. Because Disney told you, no, this is the way it was all the time. This is how the prince lived all the time. This is how that soldier lived all the time. And y'all believe that. That's not true. Life is not an adventure. It doesn't happen all the time. Sometimes life takes a break.
Mm-hmm.
But we understand that. As men, we are meant to understand that.
Can't always be on vacation. Sometimes you gotta go back to work.
You gotta go back to work. You gotta grind a little bit more. Because that is how life is structured and how you can get to that position, but you have to work tirelessly to get to that. Let's not forget, people like Jeff Bezos and Bill Gates and all of them. Yeah, we idolize certain things, but they did work hard. They did work hard to get to where they got. Some people inherited it, like Trump and all of them, but a lot of the rich people we see did, in fact, work hard to begin. They worked tirelessly. They worked 12 hours. They worked 12-hour days, 16-hour days, 23-hour days. And now it looks like, oh, well, all they do is live on vacation. Yeah, it looks like that. But you got to remember, he needs a vacation now in his, late 40s, early 50s, Jeff Bezos is, compared to the fact that he probably spent his whole entire 30s and 20s working nonstop. So now all he's doing is really getting his health in order because he probably worked tirelessly. So you have to take account for that. And we do. We're like, okay, we see the lifestyle you want. Oh, well, you don't want that? It's not that we don't want that. It's that we know we don't need that. Mm-hmm. We don't need the lifestyle where we're just chilling all the time. We want to work and we want to be able to, something you proudly say, make your money work for you. Mm-hmm. We want to get to that point. But we understand you have to put in the work first in order for that to happen.
Mm-hmm. You're not going to win the lottery.
Yeah, and due to the last guy who won the $1 billion, he ended up getting about $600 million. And everybody's like, he paid the real taxes. Oh, you want to know what? When the rich pay their taxes? Yeah, when they win the lottery. Oh yeah, he paid the real taxes.
Facts.
So that's just a matter of putting yourself in that position, and most men want to put themselves in that position. So that's the beauty of being a man and having that understanding. It's also a downside that we have to communicate that to women because they don't have that understanding. If they did, we wouldn't be having this whole, well, why don't they pick better? Because then they would. But like I said before, they pick based on their feeling at the time. And that's just the way it is. We can't be mad at them for that. We have to adjust. Make that adjustment. Be the guy that pursues a woman and knows where her emotions are going. And I'm not saying be manipulative. What I'm saying is that you, in order to get what you want, you might have to play that game.
It's not really manipulation, it's control. Right?
Yeah.
If you want a certain outcome, you gotta control it. Just like a video game, you control the character, right? You control the narrative. So control the narrative. Not necessarily manipulate, but control.
Yeah.
You want to be rich, you gotta put in the effort to be rich. You gotta learn to become rich. You can't hope to be rich. So you gotta have some control of your life. You wanna be in shape, you gotta control your eating habits, you gotta control your work, your sleep schedule, your work schedule, you gotta control your life schedule so you can make time to even go to the gym and to work out and to do all that good stuff that comes with it. And that's the main thing we're trying to say is like, you gotta try something different. You gotta learn different. The funny thing is the most common thing you can say, especially nowadays, modern day times, when it comes to anything, is to Google it. Right? Go on YouTube and learn. Go watch other guys talking to ladies. Watch other guys, talk about their experiences when it comes to talking to certain types of chicks. Especially if you have a preference. If you have a preference, let's say you like Asian chicks or you like Hispanic chicks or something like that. In some cases, especially if you're not a Latin guy, you might want to learn a little Spanish if you like Latin chicks. If you like Latin women, you might want to learn a little Spanish because trust me, it goes a long way. Especially the Spanish language is essentially a sexual language if you really understand. So if you learn Spanish, that is very helpful. I mean, it can be helpful even with a lady that that isn't Hispanic. Just the fact that you can speak a different language can get you into a girl's good graces. It gets some attention. Even I, when we're talking to the young lady, even I made a French reference to my partner's name, where I said it's French. It's more pronounced in a different way than the way it's normally pronounced, and she liked it. Like it's hard to describe, but if you saw her, you saw like it was a hell of a reaction. I'm like, bullseye. I got you with the whole language thing. And the fact that I was able to pronounce it in a French way. So I made it sound French. Right? I took something that's pronounced in one way and made it sound French. That impressed her and got a positive response. And that's the main thing, is always try to get a positive response when you do something. When you say something, when you do something. Sometimes you might say something in a serious way and it might come off it might make her laugh. And that's a good thing if she laughs. If she finds something that you said was funny, even if you didn't meant it to be a joke, she still found it funny. And laughter is an emotion, a good one. So hey, you got a free W right there. And that's the thing. Try to get as many W's as you can. So ask different questions. Do different things, like we asked names, right? We made certain references to certain things.
Yeah.
We ask, like I said, we ask questions, which is always important. We ask questions about about our order, because we were ordering food, obviously. So we ask questions and whatnot, and and we even dropped some coins, right? We had some loose change from our orders, and we dropped it into the tip jar. So that right there is adding positive rapport to the situation, because more likely she's going to get those tips, right? And then maybe later she'll get the tip, just the tip. But she definitely was worth more. In future podcasts, you might hear more from her, more about her, or directly from her. That's the end of the podcast.